You are now listening to Straight Blunt Podcast with my dad, Coach PR, producer Wright, and Christina.
Do you like edibles? Have you ever wanted to make them at home, hassle-free? Introducing the Magical Butter Machine, the easiest, most consistent way to make edibles at home. Perfect for growers that have extra plant material, you can use trim, buds, shake, sugar leaf, and all kinds of concentrates. If you make edibles, you need this machine. It takes all of the effort out of the process, and you don't have to waste a day making your infusions at home. Simply add your favorite herbs and your butter, cooking oil, or grain alcohol. Set your time and temperature, and the machine is going to do the rest. The high-power immersion blender is going to chop up your botanicals while the internal heating unit is going to maintain the perfect temperature for your infusion. The Magical Butter Machine comes with everything you need to make extractions at home. Included with your machine is the reusable Purify filter bag for straining and the heat-resistant silicone Love Glove. Infuse butters, oils, and tinctures at the touch of a button. To get your own Magical Butter Machine today, go to magicalbutter.com and use promo code STRAIGHTBLUNT at checkout to save 20% off your purchase.
And we're here for another dope ass, get it? Dope ass. I'm gonna explain why we're saying dope. Dope ass episode, Straight Blunt. And my brother right here, my brethren, our brethren, Cavario, straight from Dope and Game.
Yes, sir.
What's up,
All
Cavario?
Gangsters
What's the
and
word?
Young Guns,
Brother?
Dawn Diva, Raised by Wolves,
Hip Hop Weekly,
Hip Hop Weekly,
Old Gangsters and Young Guns,
everything.
my political thriller.
This guy here is all
Get
over
Smart.
the place.
Okay.
Let me give you a lot of
A lot of information here.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Thank you for pulling up, bro. Appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
This is gonna be good because Wright is especially excited because I speak to you a lot, so
Right.
I know like you have so many. Not only say stories, but experiences.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, different experiences with a lot of people, and you especially with Dawn Diva that you have. For people that don't know, Dawn Diva, you are a co-founder from Dawn
Yes,
Diva magazine,
absolutely.
and the magazine held down. It was like should I say like a
Definitely one of the Bibles that
For the
explain.
Well,
explain
culture.
I'm the one
depth
that
of the
coined
street.
the phrase the street Bible.
Right,
Right,
yeah.
street Bible,
Right,
right.
yeah.
If you look
Right.
on some of the original covers, it was the slogan was, well, the original slogan was for the ghetto fabulous lifestyle. So when the first issue dropped in 2000 January, that it had said for the ghetto fabulous lifestyle. But then shortly thereafter, it became the original street Bible because I am I don't want to say a preacher or nothing like that, but you know, I kind of
You enlighten people.
representative, you know what I mean, of that type of thing from the street, you know.
Right.
So, you know, I'm a soothsayer from the street, so it became like, you know, the Bible that represented the sooth or the truths that I espoused.
It was definitely needed for the culture, for our community. 'Cause people like think that Dawn Diva was praising everything that these people did, that different people did as far as crime wave, but it wasn't. It was
Yeah,
actually
if you read it, you'd know that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You know,
if you just looked at the pictures, then you get
you do
that
have some
impression.
people that just do that,
Right.
right? Look at
I mean,
this
it's cool.
picture, right?
If you're looking at the pictures, that's cool. But
Yeah.
anybody who's looking at the pictures and not reading the content doesn't really have any business commenting on what
Right.
it is.
Yeah, I think you guys brought clarity to the game, especially for a lot of us young guys who might have been coming up under a lot of older dudes and might not have fully knew the true stories
Right.
for a lot of different older dudes that were ahead of us. You guys kind of brought that clarity.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Dawn
That was the
Diva.
point.
That
was
yeah.
the point to bring that clarity because rap was given hyper, kind of hyped up, souped up, glamorized, romanticized version of it. You
Right.
know? And
Not showing the consequences.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult to do that, through 3.5 minutes of, in the booth gangsterism.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I
But
mean,
even
they
out of the
couldn't
booth
really show
gangsterism,
those
they
things.
even
though.
out of the booth, they still wouldn't even show that there is some consequences. To
Right,
what
but
I'm glorifying.
you'd have to have some understanding of it there being consequences. They don't actually live the life, so they don't know about the
Right,
consequences.
right.
When the people whom they were enamored by in terms of that lifestyle, when those people went away, They stopped seeing them balling. They stopped seeing them around, and that's that. They didn't know that they were now dealing with the consequences. All they know they weren't there anymore, and they found a new, Jesus to follow. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
I remember that being like a lot of things like with the artists coming out, the Nas and just different artists like that, making references to like real street cats that kind of made you feel like they was a little bit more official for knowing that information. You know what I mean?
And that's exactly what that was about.
Right.
That's exactly what this is about. I don't know whether that falls under the category of what we were speaking about before we began, but does that fall under the category of this clout chasing?
I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. I really think so. I think it's all ingredient. Like we was talking about earlier, we didn't see it the way they define it now.
Right.
But if we had to take a step back and look at what they're saying, we know a lot of different little elements. We just didn't call it clout chasing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because either you had it or you didn't. Like we said
Right.
before, right. So with Dawn Diva, because you actually had some dealings with that life, right?
I did indeed.
Yeah,
I retired when I was 30.
And you retired from the street life. You don't hear people saying that, I retired from street life.
Carlito Brigante, but go ahead.
Right. Because everybody's out
he
there
didn't
forced
make it.
out.
Yeah, he didn't make
He didn't
it,
make it,
right,
right? Not even an hour, right?
Right.
But you actually, people either forced out, pushed out, go to jail, do something. You was like, you know what? I'm about to change my life around. What made you have that decision?
It was a culmination of many things, I came into it through my family structure, so it had that familial thing about it. So
Your blood family or your...
My mother, my father, all of my mother's siblings, some of my father's siblings, my older cousins, my older siblings.
All street life.
Older than me by 16 years or so. So 2 generations before me. So when I was born into that environment in my home, not in my neighborhood, not in my city.
Inside your own home.
In my home.
Right.
So in my home, I was given these examples. I grew up in this home where there were hundreds of thousands of dollars being counted and transacted and bags moving in and out all the time. That was the environment I was born in. So I thought that was life. I thought everybody was like this. Right? And the fact that I was born into it and it was something that I connected with family gave it a different level. I had a different level of reverence for it than my average peer who happened to be, born in the same neighborhood. I'm from Harlem. I'm from 115th Street between 7th and 8th, right? So that my connection to it was different than the connection that other people who happen to be born into that same geography, if they had a different family life, which most did.
Right.
The closest that the average person in the hood in the 60s and the 70s had to the drug life was somebody in their family being on drugs.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right? Not this, my this or my that is somebody, whatever. That was a rarity, really was, comparative to the size of the community. There were maybe 1% that were actually in the game on the business side of the bag. That's the reality.
Right.
I see a lot of people having a very, very difficult time understanding that just because you are from an environment and external to your home environment, that there are illegal activities or criminal activities going on, doesn't mean that's what you're from. And only because of rappers, because I remember a world before rap. Right? So I remember when it didn't mean anything to people who weren't in the street or who weren't in the street and who just happened to be in the neighborhood. It didn't mean anything to them to know who that was or try to associate themselves, because rap was the element or the instrument that was used to place value in that. Prior to that, there was no value in that for people being perpetuated through that. People would assimilate that, so that normal civilians who happen to live in underserved, disenfranchised communities where drug activity went on wouldn't feel the need to associate themselves with it. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I mean, I see sometimes these comments, you know, that will inevitably find their way beneath the video that is being created right now.
Right.
Oh man, that dude, this, that, and the other. You 12, you're 17, you're
They don't really know.
25.
Right.
You know, your mother is a professional of some kind, or a nurse or something. You know, if you know your father, he's, you know, some, you know, blue collar worker, whatever, this, that, and the other. You don't have no business nor qualifications to be making any kind of comments. But I realized something the other day. I realized that people have always had this thing about like getting on the, like, you know, you watching a movie, you watching television, and you go, no, man, don't go in there. Oh, man, you stupid.
Yeah.
So this is that same mentality.
Yeah.
This mentality where people get caught up in the things that they're watching, and they want to participate, and they want to be included.
Right.
They want to be validated
be
by that
part.
reality
They
because
wanna
they're
be part.
enamored with that reality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is now social media platforms now give people, they are able to break the wall.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're able to now interject themselves into this conversation.
It's just
And-
on another level. It's the same thing with watching a soap opera back in the days, whatever. It was like,
Yo.
oh man, what the hell you
Same
doing,
thing,
right?
same thing.
You were so
Same
right
thing.
because
Yeah.
like what you see on social media, like you a lot around under a lot of like the big artists, rappers, celebrities comments, you'll see like if you know like a neighborhood rapper or something like that, and they're commenting at the bottom of these different social these different people comments, and it's like these people ain't hearing you and they're not checking you, but they feel that energy of they're commenting. They're
I'm participating.
Right, you know
I'm
what I'm
down.
saying? Right.
Me too.
Yeah.
You know, this is
Yeah.
us talking about this. I mean, people talking about
Yeah.
things. I got people asking me things in these comments about another video that someone else they also don't know, who they also don't have a connection with.
Right.
And asking me whether what they're saying is valid.
Right.
And I'm saying like,
Bring you into their world now.
Right.
I'm saying like,
Yeah.
what does, if I told you it was valid, what would that mean
Yeah,
to you?
Yeah.
Are you really that nosy?
Yeah.
Are you really that interested?
Right.
Are you really that bored?
Yes, they are.
Yo, they
That's
mean,
the crazy-
it's
yeah,
so
they
real
are.
that there's a meme for that now. Like we've had that conversation before where we've seen people under different celebrities
Yeah.
thing
That
commenting.
we knew, that we knew.
that we know, and they commented and they never get answered. You know what I mean? But there's a meme for that now. You know what I'm saying? It's like your boyfriend is. I seen your boyfriend under a celebrity. Like, this shit is real.
I just
Like
seen
you
that.
can't
I
even
just
make
seen that 2 days ago.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
even make this shit up.
Yeah, that's
like
true,
you know what I
like-
mean? Like
Right.
that means like we had that conversation, but everybody's having that conversation.
Yeah.
So like you're saying, it's the same mentality of fucking punch him or don't go in that room.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's
Now
the
you-
same
You gonna
shit.
get killed. You
Yeah,
stupid.
Stupid. Like,
now you
yeah.
can have that conversation.
Now
and
you
it don't
feel like
matter.
you-
Somebody's gonna answer you, right? Even
Yeah.
if it ain't the main guy.
There's somebody else in the
So
conversation.
three or four different people that have nothing to do with the person or persons in the video having a conversation about the content in the video.
Happens every
And
time.
they're good with that.
And they're arguing.
Yeah.
Yes, they're arguing about it. And they're
Oh
good
my
with it.
gosh, do
Like
they be
this-
arguing too?
Yeah, this is
What?
psychosis, my dude.
Yeah.
This is some significant psychosis. This is what a young brother, a young mentee of mine, Jonathan Bertrand, he has been working to have this new psychological condition classified called
man.
the social media effect. It's where these people create these personas, and it's like you have this on-screen name, and your name is, Dexter Chestnut, right? But, your on-screen name is, Killer 187.
Right.
And because you're removed from this immediate responsibility for what you're being, because nobody knows it's you,
right.
and they don't know where you are. It's not, not like they're gonna pull up your IP address and ping you and find out exactly where your computer's located, like they actually can, right? And then go get your address and like really just come to your house and like really just blow your brains out, right? That can really happen. And it's inevitable that will happen. Okay, that's going to happen.
Yes,
I'm telling you, because it's getting
right.
easier and easier and easier to do that, right? But as it stands now, Dexter Chestnut can hide behind Killer 187, and he can pop all kinds of shit and say all kinds of crazy shit. You know what I mean? And he doesn't have to worry about it having an effect on them. Now, here's where the psychosis comes in. If you engage in a certain type of thinking, right? Thoughts are habits. This is neuroscience. This is factual. This is not Cavario's opinion, right? So you engage in a certain type of thinking, and that thinking becomes habitual. After a while, you start to believe that you're this person. Now you're gonna fuck around and forget that you're not on your phone doing the thumb thug shit, right? and you're gonna be in some social situation. You're gonna get caught up, and your alternate identity is gonna pop out. Killer 187 gonna pop out. You're gonna forget your face to face.
What was the name before?
Dexter.
Dexter Chestnut.
Yeah.
You're not Dexter Chestnut
You're
anymore. You're
187.
187.
Right. Now you feeling some kind of way, and you're gonna really say something to the wrong person, wrong time, or you might say something to the person that you have been constantly. What's the word? Trolling? Is this what it is? When you talk to somebody you don't know about things you don't know about, right? And you go around and you see, like you go around and you come around and you see me walking down the street somewhere, whatever, and you forget that you not you. And you done said some smart shit, and I done said some smarter shit, and made you feel some kind of way and dug in your ass. Yeah. And now you forget that you're not really you. But you don't understand, I'm really me. Yeah. My name is actually Cavario.
Right. And when you slap the shit out of that person, he'll remember that he's Dexter.
That's what happens.
Like, yo, I'm just Dexter.
Right. Why are you slapping Dexter like that?
I got rainbow hair.
That's right. That's
you gonna slap a nigga with rainbow hair?
That's right.
Right. Exactly.
That type of bullshit.
Exactly.
That
You might get mad at me.
bullshit.
You get mad at me. I'm the boom.
That's
You
right.
just hit on the head.
That's right.
But I want to get back to with Dawn Diva. When you did that, I'm sure you didn't think of this or anything. Or when you created Dawn Diva, this would happen.
That shit was an accident. I talk about that in the book that I adapted from the magazine, right?
Yeah.
The top 10 stories I did in the joint, right? But a lot of extra shit I couldn't fit into the magazine at the time, right? But I talk about that. It's called the accidental birth of a brand. So it wasn't even a fucking plan. It was no one's plan to create Dawn Diva. It just happened as a result of one thing lead to another. Go ahead, though.
Oh, that's dope.
That's dope.
Yeah. That shit was very organic.
Yeah.
Very organic.
I mean, to cut you real quick, but it was very organic.
Yes, it was.
It was very necessary.
Yes, it was. The timing was perfect.
Unbelievable, because I'm like, just me being a young kid and, growing up, I moved from Brooklyn to Queens, and it's just growing up from those different sects of people and styles of mentalities. And your magazine like really unveiled like a lot of stuff. Like I heard about
that you were wondering about, or just wondering, thinking about.
Not even you didn't wonder. It was too heinous to wonder. It was like, oh, fucked up for him. You know what I'm saying? Back in our day, it was fucked up for him. You weren't trying to wonder about that shit. You might get killed for wondering about that shit.
Well, I said wondering, like, was that really?
You know
that used to exist. That concern used to exist.
It don't matter no more.
That I'm not going to trespass across that border because I'm not assimilated enough with that reality to be able to determine whether or not I'm violating or not. So let me keep the fuck back. That is gone.
Right.
The danger in that is the consequences. There are some. Now, the kid 6ix9ine, the rainbow hair you mentioned, he is one of the worst case scenarios of not recognizing there are boundaries to this endeavoring into this space, trespassing into this fucking space, getting too close to this reality,
right? And he did. So okay,
but I feel like
go ahead.
I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist.
I mean, what is that? I mean, a conspiracy is what? 2 or more people planning something.
Right.
So if you got the idea, which is a theory, that 2 or more people are planning something, then a conspiracy theory is very valid. Doesn't mean it's not true.
From the beginning, I always felt like 6ix9ine was placed here. Like just because
placed by whom?
The boys.
He was to say the boys. Feds. Like they put him there. Like I don't know, just to see who bites the bait. You know what I mean? And I just feel like his people.
You think that's necessary?
In hip hop, especially too. Like
you think that's necessary? Do you see the natural?
No, right. You're right.
Necessary.
It's not even necessary.
All they got to do is what they
did. Right.
Just watch and wait for the opportunity.
Watch and listen.
Yeah, you're
wait
right.
For the opportunity. So they interjected
right.
the first informant was already interjected to the situation.
Okay, so then not far from my conspiracy theory.
Right, because you
Even
just said
if it's
it.
not
So it was
him,
somebody who already got trapped off.
Okay,
you already got into a jam,
yeah.
and then he was finagled into their situation. I mean, I'm understanding this shit from the periphery because believe me when I tell you, I pay this shit little to no fucking attention because I got a life.
Right.
You dig? So I pay this shit little to no fucking attention. It's dumb shit, distraction shit to me.
That's a
You know what I mean?
It really is.
But I stay in tune to the degree I need to so that I can effectually help
those who need
it. Because I know they tuned into the bullshit.
Right. And they might get caught up into it. Might be some young kids that you could help.
Right. So I need to know what I'm talking about when they talking about what they talking about when they ain't talking about shit.
But even with like how you just said it, like even if it's not him, it is somebody in that situation. I just feel like this is such a lab rat situation from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you fell for it, then, fuck it.
Yeah, what they better know is that because this has been played out on, a national stage, there are going to be other states and other cities that are now going to be creating those type of situations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, what it comes down to is not a right or wrong. It's not a legal, illegal thing. You got people who work in prosecutors' offices across the country. You got people who work in police stations across the country. They are people, and they are driven by the same thing everybody else is driven by, to do better. And in the business of law enforcement, doing better means producing higher numbers. Producing higher numbers means arresting more people and convicting more people, right? So if you are not careful, they will use you as a stair step in the aspirations of their careers.
Right.
And that is what they are about. That's what they're driven by.
They're about their career.
And like you said, you're making it easy. It's not even
So
like
they
a
got a
hard
blueprint
thing.
now.
It's not even a hard thing.
And they can now effectively infiltrate these rap organizations, right?
Yeah.
Just do what they seen done in this instance. They can deliberately do it now. Now that theory is now a very viable thing.
Yeah.
So if 6ix9ine hadn't been created for the purposes of attracting this type of thing, now there are some law enforcement organizations somewhere in some other state, some other city, who are now thinking, how can we create ourselves a 6ix9ine to go out there?
And it's called the 6ix9ine syndrome.
The 6ix9ine effect.
6ix9ine effect. That's what it is. Yeah.
6ix9ine effect.
Yeah.
They go out there, we put them on the end of a hook, give them a long line, let them run.
And there was a
So
time.
you got to realize they do it. They've been doing this with just cats on the street.
In the
forever.
streets.
There's
So
a
why
bunch of
wouldn't they-
dudes running around right now, and they have been. This has been going on. Right?
Going on.
And they let them sell drugs.
else.
They let them do all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
Right? And when cats see them, they see them riding, balling in the club, doing anything, whatever, and cats are attracted to them.
Yeah.
Right? And then that's how they get jammed up.
Yeah. They sent out to work. They working time more.
That's right.
When I got my reality check, MDC, I would say, there was a dude in there running the kitchen. That nigga had 43 years. What he was doing at MDC, bro? What he was
why
doing
you still there? Why you still there?
Nigga was working off. Niggas be going home on the weekends, all type of shit.
Yeah, that's a
all
fact.
kind of time that
That's a
niggas
fact.
be working time off.
That's
you don't
right.
know, you can't trust nobody.
Yeah.
That's
And
really
that's
the truth.
why the game is over.
Yeah, you cannot trust
That's why the game is over,
anybody,
because
bro.
these elements that exist now, to the degree that they exist, didn't exist when I was born into the situation I was born into. It didn't exist to that. Because you see how the Chinese operate? If you're not Chinese, you can't get within
That family. There's no way you
right?
end up with that
You can't
organization.
circumvent that. And because of the connection across seas, if you as a Chinese American involved in Chinese American organized crime do something that is destructive or counterproductive to the organization here, your family over in the islands, regardless of how much they may protect you, the authorities that have you working may protect you here, your family over there overseas is going to end up in the rice.
Yeah.
Period.
They gonna feel it.
So that's how they keep their circle tight. That's how they keep their system tight.
Yeah.
But we don't have such a system.
Right.
You understand what I mean?
we
So
way displaced.
this is why it is over for us. So if you want to do some little small thing, whatever, you might have a little short window of operation. But the moment your shit hits a level where you start to make the tens of thousands of dollars on a regular basis,
You're on radar.
you are on the radar, and you can consider yourself a target, and you can understand that there will be less and less as you go farther and farther. There'll be less and less people you can trust. All it takes is for one of you to be at a club and have too many drinks, and you go your way, they go their way, and then they get pulled over. You don't know they got pulled over. They got pulled over for driving, swerving, and then they happen to have a swammy on them, and they already got a felony, and they don't want to look at that motherfucking mandatory minimum that they got to give for this
that's it.
convicted felon in possession of a firearm. So they call, the local federal office, and they come and sit down. They run his name and go, "Oh, you associated with so and so. What's happening?" And flip your ass right on the side of the road there, and then put your drunk ass back in your car, and don't kill nobody on the way home. Get your ass home, and we'll call you. Here's a phone. Answer that motherfucker when we call.
It's not the movies. This is
Not
this
the
is real life.
movies. It's real
Art
life.
imitates life. That's real life.
I can't not see that in the whole 6ix9ine situation. Even down to the
That definitely was going something like
but
that.
even
Maybe
down,
not with the pullover, but yeah.
yeah,
definitely.
well, not exact,
Right.
in
definitely.
some kind of a way.
Scenario that's
Definitely,
like that,
definitely.
where you get a person that's boom, all of a sudden they not good. They was good when you left.
Yeah.
They loved you to death, bro.
Right.
Then they're not
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Not
Then they left, and the next morning they were a whole other dude with a whole other agenda
Yeah.
because they loved themselves more.
Yeah, like the I mean, and I don't want to put it out there, but I'm like, I don't know. So I mean, I would need somebody to explain this to me. But when you shoot in front of the Barclays Center, you get a bail. It's kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of
that is
shit
weird.
like that is just kind of like,
Especially if you were on the run. We're talking about Shotty situation.
No,
right?
no.
Was it?
It was
Who was it?
I'm talking about the Cuda kid, the one that he told on, and he bailed him out.
And bailed him out, right?
Like that's weird. I don't know. Maybe I'm.
But
I mean, when he bailed them out, he didn't tell on them until he got into a situation where he had to choose between his ass or
no, he told on him, right?
Right.
They locked him up, and he bailed him out.
Well, wait a minute.
Wait. This was the last. This was when this came out?
wait. Brady's right.
Right. It's
He's
weird.
right. They found out that Cuda was a shooter because he told them.
Yeah.
Right. It
So
superseded the indictment. In order to pull himself out of the indictment, he had to put somebody else in the indictment, which is Cuda. He superseded him in the indictment, pulled himself out of the indictment. But then he bailed Cuda out.
6ix9ine bailed him out?
Yes. That's what they're reporting.
That's weird as shit.
Right.
So you a shooter. I mean, technically, you got to understand something. Just because it takes 4 pounds of pressure. You know, little kids find their parents' guns and shoot each other, shoot other people all the time, right? So putting your hand on a gun and pulling a trigger does not make you a shooter,
That's a fact.
okay?
Right.
And pointing your gun at someone deliberately, firing at them deliberately with no intent on doing any bodily harm does not make you a shooter.
And in that
Makes you a
case,
fucking idiot and a clown.
Right.
In
That's-
that
that was
case-
two cases, right?
in that
Right?
case,
So-
that was it too.
Right. So
Chief keeps shooting, and that one.
This is what I'm saying. The point I'm making with that, because 6ix9ine bailing out a shooter doesn't make sense to me. But then again, he didn't bail out a shooter, did he?
Right. And especially being that when he said, I paid him to shoot at.
At
Right.
him.
Right.
At him.
So I guess that was like, I'm sorry, bro. I'm trying to work it out. I'm trying to work it out. You know, I got you, but
Yeah, I don't know what happened,
I
but we got you. We got you. We took care of
Right.
you. Don't worry about it. And in the Dawn Diva days, did you see anything close to this and it was happening? Nothing like that, right?
You mean in terms of what? In terms of this like type 6ix9ine?
Yeah.
Bro, I saw this before I left the street.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I left the street. The
Yeah.
thing that I was born into, as I was saying initially, I no longer saw any remnants of it.
Right.
Not just in the fact that people were
Is
telling
that why you left the streets? Was
that's
like main reason?
because I didn't recognize. I came to the conclusion that no self-respecting gangster would have anything to do with this shit. Those were my words.
That's real shit.
And anybody who knows me who was there will say that's what he said. He said no self-respecting gangster will have anything to do with this shit.
Yeah.
But what would they know though? If the majority of the cats that got into the game, these new jack hustlers, these cats that came into the game in 85, 86, 87, whatever, the majority of them being victims of circumstances such as their mothers and fathers got strung out. If they had a father around at all, their mother got strung out, their father got strung out. They got into the street by way of some mechanism of availability. It's like, the drugs is rampant in the street. I'm in this circumstance where I need to take care of myself. My parents are not suitable. They're not functioning, and I need to get out here and do what I got to do. And what am I going to do aside from grab a clip or grab a pack? Because I'm 13 years old or 15 or 16 years old. What else am I going to do? You know what I mean?
Right.
So that does not qualify you to be in the street. That doesn't qualify you. The availability doesn't qualify you.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And if you claim, I was around this, whatever, this and the other, and that's what makes me
That doesn't qualify
No,
you.
listen. Listen, that does not qualify you.
Yeah.
Because if you were around a bunch of junkies, you know what you learned? Even if you've never touched a drug, you learned to be a junkie.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you're buying too many cars. That's why you're buying too many chains. That's why they got 50 pairs of sneakers. You're behaving addictively. You're behaving like an addict behaves because that was your foray into the drug world. Addicts. You were around addicts, not around gangsters, not around hustlers. You're around, because if you're around hustlers and gangsters, you learn hustler and gangsterism. Right? And gangsterism, for clarity, is structure. Structure. That's what gangsterism is.
Right.
Not going out there thinking you're going to shoot at people.
Right.
Shoot at people.
Shoot at people.
Give me a 10-pack.
Right.
Come on, man.
Right.
Like, this shit is crazy.
Right.
Who and the Dawn Diva, the most interesting person?
Isaac Wright.
Isaac Wright.
Yeah. You ain't got to finish.
Really?
Isaac
Oh
Wright.
man, he was one of the
Isaac
illest
Wright.
ones to that I read too.
Explain to us why Isaac Wright was your
Because
mentor.
Isaac Wright was a guy who was doing his thing and really doing his thing, right? Isaac Wright had a AMG Hammer, back in the 80s. This is
Isaac
a
Wright
car.
is from where?
He's from Jersey.
Jersey.
Right? But he was a military kid, so he grew up in different places. So he's very well rounded, right? Exceptionally sharp. Obviously, it's evident in the outcome of his existence.
Fifth doing a movie on that.
So supposedly a series.
Yeah.
Right. So Isaac had.
This is when he became a lawyer.
Yes.
He turned into a lawyer, right?
Yes.
Isaac Wright.
Right. That is in Old Gangsters and Young Guns. That's one of the stories in Old Gangsters and Young Guns. Isaac was really that guy. He's really getting to it. He had that AMG Hammer back then. You had to buy that car cash. It was leasing it. There was no financing it. You had to buy the car cash. It was $100,000 back then, which would be the equivalent to $500,000 now. Yeah. Right? He had to order it from overseas. He was getting to it. He had the first female platinum group. His wife was one of them. They're beautiful. I never can remember the name of the damn group. They had the big song, and I want to say "Wishing on a Star" or something like that. But it was platinum female group, right?
They were singers.
They were singers, 3 of them, beautiful, and his wife was one of them, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sisters, right? And so he was getting it legitimately, and he was getting it in the street, and a crooked, coterie of individuals from the legal space, a prosecutor, a judge, some cops. They were going around doing what they were doing, kind of like the cops that were on Meek Mill, that locked Meek Mill up. They were saying a group of thugs with, with badges. You know what I mean? Perps with badges, right? And he got sent to jail for life and came out of that. Not only did he get himself out, he got other people out who also had the same situation. Not only do that, but he got the judge and the prosecutor and the cop, got them locked up.
Yeah.
One of them killed himself.
And now he's that's right.
Yeah,
and now he's an international lawyer.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's his definitely was
That
a dope
is
story.
Crazy.
He beat them at their own game.
This is the things that won't be highlighted. It won't be as you won't hear these stories out in public. And people rapping, not even rapping about it.
No,
because nobody think about it. How many, even before Dawn Diva, how many, I don't want to say of us, how many people of our skin color believed a lot of us who was like, we're innocent, or they're setting this up, or whatever the case may be.
Right,
how many of us really believed the story that was being told? Now that it's being exposed more now, that these cops are crooked, and these cops are drug dealers and all this type of different ish, now you get more of a lending ear to these stories. You know what I'm saying?
Incredible story that you become an international lawyer.
Yes, sir. So he doing deals for kings in Africa and all kind of shit. And still defending people here. As a football player, cat whose brother got into some crap, a murder, called a murder, whatever. He was defending dude, and he got dude out on bail on a murder, and dude went and caught a gun charge while out on bail, and he got him out again.
Wow. Yeah, he wasn't
What's
playing.
his number?
He's smart. Yeah.
Isaac Wright Jr., man, is the man. It's funny, when I got up this morning, I was like, this guy that is the most gangster story.
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm saying. This is what you should hear about.
He ain't had to kill. He ain't even had to kill them. They killed themselves.
Right.
That was the illest shit
That's
ever.
Gangster.
Yeah.
See, the only thing truly gangster is knowledge, man. Everything else is bullshit, brother.
Now that's a fact. That is a fact.
Bullshit. Yes. So if you're not about building your mind, if you're not about expanding your information, if you're not about elevating your thought process, and what I always push, if you're not about a critical process, then you can forget about being a gangster. You think putting a joint on your hip, don't you understand that anybody can put a joint on their hip?
Anybody can do that.
Anybody can go and stand on a corner or sling a package. Anybody can do that. So if that were the prerequisite for gangster, then anybody could be a gangster. And we know
there's more gangsters than we thought there is.
Right.
If that's the case.
Exactly. So
And-
cut the shit.
And Dawn Diva, you did Dawn Diva. Now you've been doing everything else after Dawn Diva. After you left Dawn Diva. Because I know right now you have your working on a podcast, right?
Yep.
Dope and Game.
Yes, sir.
But before Dope and Game, you've been doing some other. You have books.
Yes.
You're still writing.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you wrote a lot of all those stories in Dawn Diva.
Right.
You were not only.
I wrote anywhere between 60 and 100% of Dawn Diva magazine, from the very first article, issue that we did in 2000 January, to the 26th issue when I left in August of 06. That particular issue is funny. My last issue, I wrote the entire thing. You know what I mean? Wrote the entire thing. But I did that often. I took every picture. The first 4 years, I took every picture. I did every interview. And I did all of the distribution myself.
Distributors Violator office,
right,
working,
right?
Yeah.
Right. I couldn't deal with distributors because the distributors wanted more money than we were making off the damn magazine.
Right.
And so between the distributors and the retail spots, the newsstands, all that kind of stuff, by the time they were taking theirs, because you're expected to make your money before you even print the magazine by way of the advertising. When we started the magazine, I did not even know that that's how magazines made their money. Russell Simmons told me, "Yo, Cavario, this is a good magazine, man, but you need to put some ads in here with the ads. You need the money."
It sound like Russell too. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's how I said, "Where?" He said, "Yes, I make it." I hated ads in magazines, like.
And then you went and got a lot of record labels.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. That's right. And 50 got all those my first 2 pages of inside cover for a year. Brought those for a year. But after I did Def Jam, shout out to Kevin Lyles. I used to walk in the Def Jam, man, and Kevin Lyles would be like, "What's up, Carl? How can we help?" I said, "Man, I need a check." Kevin would take his checkbook out of his pocket, write me a check for $7,500, and say, "Here." And I'd be like, "What's this for?" He said, "We're gonna need you to do something at some point."
Yeah, that's love.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they gave me the How High campaign.
Yeah.
You know, when the movie, with Red and Meth, I had full access to that, which is what really made Dawn Diva seem like it was bigger than it was.
Yeah.
The fact that I was taking it everywhere I was taking it made people think it was like that. But it was only where I placed it. Where I placed
Where
it.
you placed
Right.
it.
Okay.
With nobody with me.
Right.
I was doing it as you saw me as to be with
That's
you
what I
all the
said.
damn
I
time.
used to see it.
Right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how you kept
Right.
we kick it.
Let's see, Dawn Diva was
Yeah.
you back, especially back
Right.
then. Those
Right.
days, yeah,
Right?
definitely.
So I made it seem like it was a lot bigger than it was, but what gave it its strength was the exclusivity, and that exclusivity was based in my relationships, my personal relationships.
Yeah, you
so
had
the fact that I had relationships with 50, and he was the hottest rapper in the world.
Yeah.
You know, I had access to him that no one else had. I had cameras in places where no one else with a camera existed.
Yeah.
You know, I'm at Swiss's house at Christmas. You know what I mean? I'm with.
But you were on all levels. You were like
Right.
celebrities. You
That's
were
right.
with
That's right.
the gangsters that
That's
locked
right.
up. Like
That's
you
right.
had access
That's
to
right.
everybody.
I was on the
like-
block
Yeah.
in Newark
Yeah.
with cats, out there with bundles in their hand,
Yeah.
showing them the new Akbar Prey issue.
Yeah.
You know
Oh,
what I mean?
wow,
They was like, "Oh, that's my man Ak. Yeah. How many you want? All right, dude. Yo, man, I gotta get that joint."
So
Then I go
it's
to-
safe to
then
say
I
he
go
was
to
a Vice
Philadelphia.
before Vice.
Vice,
Yeah,
most
of
definitely.
course.
Right.
So
Of course.
I got a question, right? Because I peeped on you. Say you from 115. And
115, between
Is that
758,
Nicky
235
Barnes'
West
block?
115th Street, 5W.
is that the same block as Nicky Barnes was on? Or I don't know, 116. One of them blocks.
My
is
family
like-
was Nicky. Nicky's
a
connected to
wild
my
block.
My mother got Nicky off of dope when he was eating out of garbage cans on 115th Street in Lenox Avenue. He was
Okay,
eating
right,
out of
yeah.
garbage cans.
Okay,
he was
yeah,
a stone
so-
cold dope fiend.
Yeah, I know
That's
he
used
was
to say.
over there.
He was a greasy dope fiend.
Right.
Barnes.
Right now, some motherfucker commenting on this going, "Oh man, that dude got too many stuff. He was too."
He was really.
So
he
You
was
can't
really.
you can't accept that what you have been making up in your mind as like this level of in-depth involvement and experience. You can't make up in your mind that as you've been pretending to be that or pretending to know someone like that you didn't make it up. It's a concept that you somewhere picked up somehow that I and people like me actually exist.
Yeah.
We exist.
Yeah.
and you can't
That's
change the
that's
facts.
hard for the people to believe that the real really exists.
No,
Right,
that's
because
that's,
they've been
Tell me
pretending
about
for so long. This something I recognized in the streets back in the days.
No,
I
know-
got to the
know
point where I
exactly what you're talking
understood
about.
this,
That's
man.
dope, yo. That's real.
Right? In the 80s, I began to see something. I began to see that there were people who were putting more effort into projecting themselves as being at a certain level than they were at getting to that level. And I
Facts.
believe that I watched this happen.
Yeah.
I've been a student of this existence my whole half century plus on this planet, right? And I've watched because I came from a structure before I got out into the world. So my world, my bubble, was that existence. So I know what that fabric is and how it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
So when I got out into the world and I started seeing the fabric kind of wavering and coming apart and seeing things patches that didn't belong, I'm paying very close attention to this because it's a stark contrast to the reality that I was indoctrinated in, right? So I'm looking, I'm going like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Why are you pretending to be something that you're not? And putting yourself in the detriment of what you're pretending to be, but you're not actually trying to be it. What is that? And what I came to the conclusion of is cats had done so much, had made so much effort to try and be somebody in that thing, and it resulted in nothing but hard times, hard luck, hardship, going to prison, coming out with that they came to the conclusion that nobody is actually who they're projecting themselves to be. Everybody's pretending, and that it's about the efficiency of your pretense. So then that became the goal. It was no longer the goal to really get to it and fill bags up with money. It was about
to look like
looking
it.
like you're doing
Looking
it. And
like
then
it.
that became the standard.
Part of it.
That's right.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
became the thing.
Right.
Now the goal is to project better than the next guy projects.
yeah.
I watched that become a
So
thing.
I got all right. So I'm trying to get to this because you're dropping like real dope ass.
Nah, I see you in the
So-
I see Reed's face like,
Nah,
damn.
this should be. It should be on my mind. Especially, all right. So when it comes, because we talk about 6ix9ine, and like I said, I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist. So I'm gonna type it. I read the I probably read Nicky Barnes' story and Dawn Diva first, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably not, because we didn't do.
Okay,
You might
so
have
you
been
didn't
thinking
do
about
Nicky.
the other magazine.
Right,
We didn't do
so,
stories
okay.
on people who had told. It didn't matter the level of.
Okay,
of-
right.
Wait a minute, you never did? That's because that's what I was about to ask you
Right,
about.
so that's why I'm at. That's why I'm trying to check with the Nicky Barnes shit right now, right?
There was one time where we did this thing where we put Rayful Edmonds, Alberto Martinez, Nicky Barnes, Jack, whom most of y'all won't know who Jack is, and I can't think of whom else would fit in that category. But these are all guys who were class 1 narcotic offenders, right? Top tier narcotic offenders, and who had these names and these reputations. And people would constantly, when I would go to different places, I'd constantly hear from these people who, by doing this, did not know that they were exposing to me who they actually were when they would say, yo, how come you ain't do a story on Rayful yet? And I'd be like, because he's a rat. They'd be like, well, but I'm saying though, he was getting whatever. I'd be like, see?
Yeah. So, word,
And you represent the majority. You represent the majority.
So now you understand why the game
Interlopers,
is the way it is
you
now.
out-of-pocket ass motherfuckers
Yeah.
who think you're street people.
Yeah, yo.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I got tired of people asking me that about this one, about that one, about this one. How will you do a story in this one? Do it. So I did these things where it was a picture of the individual in a narrow slot, and it said snitch. It had a stamp. It said snitch, 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 snitch.
I remember that. That
Right?
Slanted into
Right.
on,
That's
over
right.
the
That's
person's
right.
face. I remember
That's
that
right.
shit.
That's
So,
right. So they can be
everything's
clear.
come back to me
So they
now.
can be
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
Stop asking me why I haven't done this. If I was some square cat who was just some journalist dude, then it wouldn't have had any significance to me.
But it meant something to you.
But it
more.
meant something to me because of who I am and where I come from.
And what you
right?
believe in and
right.
everything like
right?
that. Yeah,
so
makes sense.
that is why, and then, my ex, whom I started the magazine with, and the guy she got involved with while he was still away, who was representing it in there.
Right.
Right? So he was the victim of a rat.
A rat snitched on him.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's representing it in there.
Yeah.
I'm on the street representing it from my side of it and my experience. Yeah. You know what I mean? In the life. And my lineage in the life. Yeah. Right? I got a mother and father who were spinning their graves. You dig? If I gave a platform to, you know?
Right.
Right. So the thing that I was trying to get across was, and I said this to the homies over at Feds. I said, you know, this is before I even started. I was still probably in the street when I told this to him. I said, you know, no, I was out. And I said, you know what? I said, you know, I like what you're doing. I said, but what you're doing in effect is you are validating people who have gone bad in terms of the game, right? And by doing that, what you're saying, the message you're sending is, you can ball, you can go crazy on the streets, you can do all this stuff that gives people ghetto glory, and you can tell so you can escape some degree of the consequences associated with the choices you made, and still maintain your ghetto glory. So you can do both, is what you're saying, because you're giving them a platform, you're aggrandizing these guys, and you're making it seem like it's okay.
Give us the definition of snitch. Everybody has a definition of a snitch, what a snitch is, a rat is. Like, okay. Give us your definition of a snitch.
Okay. A snitch, first of all, is only relative to that world. Okay? So if you're not a street person, then a snitch is not in your category, it's not in your lexicon. It's not. You're a tax-paying individual. And somebody standing in front of your house, every time you come in your building, you got to walk past a bevy of dudes out there, you know, with a pocket full of crack and all kind of shit to get in your door. So you've asked them several times, move, don't be here. You know, I live here. I don't want to see this. I don't pay rent to be involved in this. And then they, you tell them, look, I'm gonna call the cops. You know what I mean? And then you finally do call the cops. And they go, oh, so and so on the first floor snitched on us. No, he didn't. His tax dollars give him the right to call the authorities and tell them, I need you to come over here and reinforce my rights as a citizen. Mm-hmm. That's not a snitch.
Not a snitch. I agree with you.
Only a dickhead would think that's a snitch. Only an uninitiated jackass who doesn't know shit about what he's doing
or what's going on
would think that that's a snitch.
Right.
Okay?
I agree.
All right. So there go the comments. They're going crazy right now. Yeah.
No, I agree.
You don't
with
know
it,
what you think you know. Now, what is a
snitch?
snitch? If you are involved with some Confederates, this is you, me, this gentleman. We all decided we're gonna sit and we are going to conspire
to do crime together.
To do a crime together. Okay? We all understand that, you know, there are risks associated with this situation. So something happens. One of us gets, we hit the lick, we start rolling. One of us gets pulled over on the way home one night from one of our partying sessions celebrating our lives. We bought 20 bottles of champagne for some apparent fucking reason I don't understand, right? And then, you know, he didn't drop the package off he was supposed to drop off because he didn't want to miss the party.
Right.
So he still got the birds in the trunk.
Right.
And he swerved and he gets pulled over. The police ask him for whatever. They breathalyze him, boom, he's fucked. They open the trunk, oh shit. They call the feds. Feds come, flip him on the side of the fucking highway. He is now a snitch. That's a snitch. Now, somebody you're operating with, and it doesn't have to be drugs, whatever.
In concert.
Whatever you're acting in concert with someone in the commission of a crime, a continuous crime, or a single crime, and then you betray the trust because they say, look, everybody knows now, whoever gets caught, you know, you gotta beat them to the chair because I'm trying to get up out of here. You know what I mean? So just let you know, if we get caught, nigga, I'm gonna try to beat you to that seat.
Right.
Nobody says, okay, I got you. Let's go on and do this crime together.
Right.
Nobody does that.
Right.
Everybody's under the impression that we're all gonna hold our weight. You understand?
But I end up fucking your girl or Reed's girl, and does that give him the right? And I even conspire to get rid of Reed.
You get into my next question.
Does that give you the right to say that?
All right, wait, hold on.
I don't care if they're about to lock your mama up.
Yeah, you're not supposed to.
Okay.
All of that comes along with it.
Everything comes with it.
So when we sit down, we decide we're going to commit these crimes together, we got to go through a checklist. All right, so you're not going to tell, right? Of course not, man. I'm going to hold you down, brother. You know, I love you, whatever. So you're not going to tell,
Even if they threaten to put your
hold
mother in
on.
jail,
This-
check. Even if they threaten to take your children away from your wife, check. Even if they threaten to have your side bitch gang banged on a regular
Gotta do
basis,
this now, though.
check. Yeah,
Right.
like go down the list of the things that would be stipulations.
Nobody does that.
Right.
It
Nobody
comes
does
with
that.
it.
Right.
So real quick,
Right.
all right. So this is why I was asking the Nicky Barnes questions and stuff too. All right. So I guess I read in the other magazine. When I read in the other magazine years ago, and they like put a little like this little, maybe somebody said it to me or I don't know, but it was like I was reading Guy Fisher's story, and and I feel like towards the end somebody was like, yeah, but he probably brought the informant. So it was like in the air, but I didn't know.
Probably brought what informant?
Like the informant that took down the whole that took down Nicky Barnes basically. So then I'm watching Netflix now, right? Like about 2 years ago. I'm watching Nicky Barnes story, and the narrator was basically the informant. So at the end of the Netflix special, they asked the narrator, they like, well, how did you get into the council? And then he goes, Guy Fisher, because Guy Fisher was like a car thief, and I guess he infiltrated Guy Fisher, and then Guy Fisher basically brought him in, not really knowing for a fact the nigga was a Fed, but that's basically how the Feds got into the council and ended up taking down Nicky Barnes, everything. So, and
That's true.
okay, cool. See, so this is my thing. So this is where my theory about Tekashi comes from, because I mean I ain't gonna lie, when I saw that shit, I pushed the seat back like, nah, nigga, the Fed set niggas up. Like that's just how I think. Cause it's just like,
And it's their job, though,
right, yeah, you feel me? So I'm just like,
They don't really do police work. They
Right,
push you to put the
son.
work in there for you to do the
Yeah,
work for them.
son, so
They
I'm
not
like-
real police work.
so-
The police work is to put that for you. Come back with the information.
right. So
It's to manipulate people and cajole
Right.
people and, turn people against one another.
So I feel like I say we because fuck it, we as black people just been getting duped from the fucking beginning.
Yes, sir.
And
You
there
better believe
really
it.
is
You better
not
believe
a
it.
such thing. I mean, I don't want to say that. Of course, there's a such thing as a snitch, but there's almost like a such thing as a snitch because these motherfuckers is gonna create it within us, whether we like it or not.
I mean, it's like I was just saying. If you have an agreement amongst your Confederates,
Well, yeah, for me.
and that agreement is betrayed by any number of your Confederates, those Confederates become snitches.
All right. Yeah.
So funny because when I was growing up, the word snitch meant steal. It was really funny. When I was a kid, the word snitch meant steal. That's what it meant. Yeah, man. Rat has always meant rat.
Rat.
Right.
Yeah, rat is
Okay,
the rat.
right.
Yeah.
Rat goes back to the 30s.
Well, when I was a kid, it was Tattletale.
Right.
Same shit, man. Same shit.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's what I want to do. I'm gonna play this promo, and then
There's a chapter in here called Brother's Keeper that goes into the whole, how people get involved with one another and create this confederacies, criminal confederacies, and then they how they get infiltrated, how they betray one another, and so forth, and how they get actually flipped and turned, like once they get inside, and how when it all comes down to it, cats don't really actually be knowing the people they get down with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Basically, that's
niggas take in every story that I read, and the motherfucker who jam you up is like a wild chance, and it's like, what the fuck made you take a chance with this? They won't take a chance on a real nigga,
Yeah.
but they be taking a chance
Because-
on the
and-
fucking
and-
rat.
and
B.
but the thing is, you know what that is? That is people being attracted to the commonalities that they share with another person,
Yeah.
rather than making an assessment based off of what role that individual is going to play within this organization and whether or not they have the prerequisites for it.
Right.
Do you have the character for it? It's, I like that nigga style, man.
Yeah.
Yo,
Nobody
we-
checks
we-
their
we
resume
be
and their
doing the
background.
same
A
things,
background
we
check,
like the
right?
same type of chicks.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Yo,
yeah.
he just got the new this and I got the new that, and we look good back to back.
Yeah.
The niggas think it's an actual. We gonna make a movie. They think it's
Yeah,
an actual movie.
son.
Yeah, that's
Like,
the
you're
resume.
good-
That's
you're-
what they look at. Yo, I
you're-
love the way this nigga dressed. Yo, you see the
Yeah.
pictures he got? Yo, that's my nigga right there. I'm fucking with
Yeah.
him.
You know what?
your
Those are the same
instinct-
criteria that women make judgments about men.
Yeah. Your instincts is telling you the right thing, but you fooling yourself over here. It's the truth. No, that's why when you were saying like when you was at 30 and you said you retiring, like and that's why I was like, yo, nah, that's
No
dope.
beefs.
Because
No case. No threats, no nothing. There was nothing.
Just by seeing bullshit.
I just got to the point I'm like, I had enough.
When
There's only two things I haven't gotten out this life since 1980 when I began. And I don't want them.
You don't want them.
Death and
jail.
incarceration.
Yo, when I watch that, and I'll like I said, I'll go from Tekashi, I'll go to Nicky Barnes, because I look at it all, and when I watch the Nicky Barnes shit on Netflix, and then they said that shit, I look at it like I said, this shit is bigger than all of us at the end of the day.
You better believe
know what
it.
I'm saying? So when I look at it from that point of view, I just look at it like, damn, son, because they pegged them two brothers against each other, Guy and Nicky. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they were the
But they had their own thing. You gotta understand, you had the king and the prince.
right.
You know what I mean? They had their own
right,
thing going
and that's
on.
what they bank off
See,
of.
that's
that.
what they do though.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, that is the oldest tactic in warfare.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dividing to conquer.
Mm-hmm.
And human beings, because of human nature, human beings are always susceptible to it.
Yeah, they fought.
Especially human beings that come into power, especially males that come into power. Because
Right.
ego becomes a large part of them. Because a lot of times, what gives them the power over others is the fact that they dare to allow their ego to exist out in front. And people look at them going, man, I wish I could be that audacious, that outrageous, and that just ridiculous. I wish I could do that. But there's something in me that tells me that shit just ain't right.
Right. Nah.
But man, I sure love them for doing it.